Julie Bond, and I'm the president of Bond Consulting Group. We're a firm that specializes in SR&ED Program, which stands for Scientific Research and Experimental Development. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about SR&ED in the agriculture sector in Canada. So I'm the president. I've been the president of Bond Consulting for almost 2 decades. And through our efforts at Bond Consulting Group, we have achieved for our clients at least $100 million worth of SR&ED refunds for our clients across the country in almost 20 years. We're very happy to be talking to you about the eligibility in the agriculture sector and to raise awareness. This is a little bit about the agenda today. You're going to see we'll be talking about SR&ED, what is the major misconceptions, what's the difference between a tax credit and a grant, the criteria of the program, and various other technicalities of the program that may interest you. So what is SR&ED? SR&ED stands for Scientific Research and Experimental Development, and it just happens to be the largest and most important and most generous corporate tax incentive program in Canada. By positioning your work as an advancement in knowledge in a field of agriculture sciences, you could be entitled to a large government refund. So this program rewards any corporation in Canada that achieves an advancement of knowledge in a field of science, technology, or medicine. So here are some statistics. This is alarming. At least 98% of the eligible businesses in the agriculture sector fail to claim their benefits under this program. That means that there are SR&ED forms in your corporate tax return and you just leave them blank, right? What we would like to do is to help you understand that you may be eligible and seek out an application under that program, which is part of your corporate tax return. Now, these refunds are not insignificant. They can range anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000 per year per incorporated farm, and it could be retroactive 2 years, and it could go indefinitely into the future as well. And even though this is called a tax credit program, make no mistake, this is a real cash refund that your corporation will receive if you qualify. So here are some misconceptions about the SR&ED program. Well, because of the name, Scientific Research and Experimental Development, many companies or potential candidates for this program believe that they must be doing formal research like in a laboratory in order to qualify, and that's just not true. Also, because it's a tax credit, often many business owners confuse it with a grant. So it's like a grant, but it behaves differently. We'll be talking about that in a little while in this presentation. Because it's a tax credit, many business owners disqualify themselves because they think that they didn't pay any corporate tax that year, and so they probably don't qualify. So you don't have to be profitable for the SR&ED program in order to qualify. So many business owners, not just in the agriculture sector, but in all sectors, they rely on their accountant to tell them that they may be eligible. And since most accountants are not aware that the agriculture sector is a viable sector for the SR&ED program, your accountant maybe never told you. Many professional advisors believe that only IT and tech companies are eligible for the SR&ED program, and that agriculture is not a science, and therefore they don't advise their incorporated farms to seek out an assessment. That's why we're doing this SR&ED awareness campaign. So some of the other misconceptions of the program is that is this a tax credit or is it a grant, and what's the difference? And I'm going to be talking to you about the difference in a moment. Now, because it's part of your tax return, many business owners are afraid that if they apply for the SR&ED program, they're going to get audited, and that's simply not true. They may review the application on the science side or the few expenditures that are claimed on the SR&ED program, but they will not be conducting a general audit on your whole tax return just because you put in a SR&ED claim. That doesn't happen. So what's the difference between a tax credit and a grant? Well, grants are discretionary. These programs, they come and go. Their criteria change all the time. Budget limits change all the time. They run out of money, and when they do, they just cut off the applications, and there's no appeals process. If you do not get approved, you're done. It's over. You can't escalate that application. And in those ways, the tax credit program is completely different. This is an entitlement program that's been enshrined in the Income Tax Act for almost 40 years. This is a stable program with fixed criteria. There's no budget limit. If you apply and you qualify, they must approve you, and there is an appeals process. So if you feel like you've been incorrectly denied, you can actually apply to the appeals division of the CRA, and you can even go to tax court if you feel that CRA doesn't understand your application. So it's very, very different in nature from a grant. So what are the criteria of the SR&ED program? Well, we're looking for 3 criteria basically: scientific uncertainty or technological obstacle. And in the agriculture sector, more often than not, we're looking for a scientific uncertainty. But if you've also developed some equipment or some new piece of technology, it could be also technological obstacle. But since agriculture is a science, often we're looking for an uncertainty in the field of agriculture sciences, which could be horticulture or enology or viticulture or agronomy or any of these sciences. Scientific or technological advancement, that's the new knowledge that you gained, and that's what the program is going to reward you for. And a systematic investigation means that you've done work in a scientific or systematic manner. Those are the 3 fundamental criteria, plus technical content. Technical content means that you have a few records that show that you actually did work. So let's understand eligibility a little bit. This program is rewarding advancements of knowledge in the field of science. And so what you have to do is, first of all, show that you have an uncertainty. How do you do that? Well, you need to compare the work that you're doing to what is the knowledge that's available in the public domain at the time of the project. And so that's how a consultant can help you, because you may not know how to frame that eligibility of uncertainty. And without uncertainty, you can't qualify for this program. Here's some examples of some eligible categories in the agriculture sector: farming, forestry, horticulture, viticulture, oenology, agronomy. There's aquaculture, biofarming, genetics, greenhouse sciences, and so forth. So there are many agriculture sciences that are clearly on the list of the SR&ED program, and you may not have been aware of this. Here's some examples. Everyone asks, give me an example. So how about experimenting with new varieties of cucumbers or strawberries or even flowers to see if you can get the more efficient variety or hardier variety or different characteristics of that variety of that fruit or vegetable or flower. What about pesticides? Many pesticides have been banned, and so we see many incorporated farms that are looking for alternatives that need to be studied. Greenhouse operations are often eligible for the SR&ED program because they perform many studies on climate control. The best combination of ventilation, nutrition, heat, and cold, and other variables leads to a scientific study. So is it worth it? Absolutely. I'm going to give you a few examples. These are just a few examples of what kind of refund you might expect in a variety of scenarios. The SR&ED program is calculated differently in every province, but I'm going to give you some examples for some different provincial calculations. So let's say that you have a fruit and vegetable farm in Ontario with a few of these statistics, and we claim 10% of your payroll and 10% of your subcontractors and a little bit of materials that went rented valueless in the process. You could end up with a refund of over $100,000. And these are realistic scenarios. Here's a greenhouse in British Columbia with, again, over $100,000 in refund to the company for these type of expenditures. Here's a vegetable farm in PEI. So it's a little bit less than PEI because there is no provincial counterpart in the PEI, but you're still going to get almost $100,000 for very similar expenditures for a vegetable farm that's doing any type of scientific study that is deemed eligible under the program in the province of PEI. Here's a berry farm in Nova Scotia. Again, over 100,000. The program is quite generous in Nova Scotia, and on the same expenditures, you might get $118,000 refund to the corporation. Alberta, they have a different program. They have a sliding scale, and their calculations are variable depending on a variety of scenarios. But your refund for the similar expenditures in Alberta, and if you're a greenhouse, could be anywhere between $100,000 and $130,000. So here you can see an example of a fruit orchard in Nova Scotia, comparable expenditures and about $118,000 refund. Program is a little bit more generous in Nova Scotia. Here's one in Manitoba, again, quite generous, same expenditures, and about almost $120,000 in refund to that corporation. Here's a greenhouse in Saskatchewan, $110,000. Here's some examples of some approvals, real clients, real cases that have been approved at Bond Consulting Group: an organic fruit orchard, an apple farm, and a cidery, greenhouses, vertical farming, vegetable farms, grape farms, wineries. All these are examples of eligible companies with eligible projects that have been approved under the SR&ED program when working with Bond. So here's the examples of the expenditures that generally we look for. SR&ED is very different than a grant. Many people are thinking that this is like any other grant, it's a subsidy. This is not a subsidy. We're going to be calculating the expenditures that are incremental and commensurate with the needs of the study. And that can be wages and subcontractors, Canadian subcontractors that may have assisted with the advancement of knowledge, some materials that were rendered valueless. That could be anything on the farm that's incremental to the study, even wasted produce that became spoiled as a result of the experiment, which could be a considerable write-off, and the overhead associated with the business. So we calculated all of that for you. So here are some real tactical considerations you have to be thinking about. So in order to participate in the SR&ED program, you must be incorporated. If you're a farm and you think you're doing eligible work, but you're not incorporated, talk to us. Maybe we can help you get incorporated so you can become eligible going forward. This program is simply not designed for preparation under the sole proprietorship program. Now, the T4 income is the definitely most generous part of the program, and dividends are not eligible. So if you work with a professional like Bond Consulting Group, we'll help you understand the difference between what categories of expenditures are eligible or more generous than other categories. Unlike a grant, the SR&ED program is part of your corporate tax return. That means it's been sitting there in your corporate tax return blank all these years and has never been filled out. But the program does have certain deadlines. You can only go back 2 years to file an application. And there's something that's called the 18-month deadline. That means 18 months after your own corporate fiscal year end. So if you do talk to Bond Consulting Group, the first thing we're going to ask you is, what's your fiscal year end of your corporation, so that we can identify your next deadline. So here's an example of the SR&ED submissions in Ontario. We have the investment tax credit, the Ontario Innovation Tax Credit, that's the name of the program, and also the ORDTC, Ontario Research and Development Tax Credit. That's the way the program looks in Ontario. But in the other provinces, it looks a little bit different. We can prepare these applications in every province of the country. The federal forms always look the same, but the provincial forms are a little bit different. In Ontario, they look like this. Plus, in addition to the detailed project descriptions, we also need to adjust your Schedule 1. We have to incorporate this into your tax return, and we have to make some adjustments to your financial statements. So here's again some more technicalities on the rates. So you're going to get 35% back on the federal side of eligible expenditures. But your labor is going to be marked up by 55% first, and your subcontractors are going to be marked down by 20%. So one of the things that you're going to realize is that it's definitely more advantageous to have your labor towards the T4 documented labor in order to get a high percentage of those expenditures back. And all provincial tax credits are refundable. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about third-party payments because we get this a lot in the agriculture sector. So there are many research organizations, and they distribute something that's looks like an SR&ED slip at the end of the year, and you might get a few $100s. Your accountant would slip this number into your tax return, and you get a small refund. That is also the SR&ED program, but it's not the actual studies performed by the incorporated farm that are independent, and they can be claimed as well. So if you are already participating in a third-party payment process with an eligible research organization, does not preclude you or exclude you from claiming the rest of your SR&ED, which are projects on your facility or at your operation where you have achieved your own independent advancement of knowledge in the field of agriculture sciences, and then you may be qualified for the SR&ED refunds that we're talking about here. We get this question quite a bit. So you're going to be submitting an application and you're wondering what happens if CRA calls you. So Bond is an SR&ED consulting firm, and we're a full service firm. So if you get selected for a review, we're going to be right there with you. We have an entire process documented, and we have a team in place, evidence coordinators, and your analysts to take care of the whole process of sending documentation to CRA. We'll provide a coaching session. We'll be present if you get selected for audit, and we'll be there after the audit if there's any additional information, right up until the time that you get approved. Here's a little bit more about Bond Consulting Group. We've been in business for almost 20 years, and we have achieved well over $100 million in refunds for our clients so far, in all different categories, and especially in the agriculture sector. This is an area of specialty for Bond Consulting Group. We're an award-winning firm, an award-winning business with unbelievable amounts of testimonials, written testimonials, video testimonials that you can see at our website. And we have a very talented team of SR&ED experts on staff at Bond in Canada. They are scientists, technologists, engineers, and agriculture specialists that would be the analysts assigned to your case if you decide to work with Bond Consulting. What's the next step? You're going to book a consultation with Bond Consulting Group. You can go to sredfarms.ca or bondconsulting.ca and click the book a consultation, and you will be connected with one of our SR&ED assessment specialists who will spend time with you, talk to you about eligibility, and determine whether you have a case under the program at no cost to you. Of course, you're not going to pay any money unless we find an eligible project, and you're only going to pay after you get approved. So this is a no-risk transaction for you. We encourage you to participate with the SR&ED program and to find out if you qualify. We look forward to working with you, and please contact Bond Consulting Group to find out more about SR&ED eligibility in the agriculture sector. Thank you for your time.